Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to start with a few words in French to say thanks to organizers of the Paris Cyber Summit. Madame la Ministre, Mesdames, Messieurs, si nous sommes aujourd'hui réunis dans cette belle salle de la Maison de la Chimie plutôt qu'assis à une terrasse parisienne par cette belle après-midi ensoleillée, c'est parce que nous partageons tous une même intime conviction que nous vivons aujourd'hui un basculement de l'ordre mondial, un basculement sans retour en arrière possible. Et comme conséquence, nous devons chercher ensemble les clés d'un nouvel équilibre dans ce nouveau monde. Et une de ces clés, plutôt la clé la plus décisive, se trouve sans doute dans l'espace digital, numérique. In this digital space, cybersecurity is not just a nice to have thing, it is a must-have, and it is a matter of society. Cybersecurity is no longer a matter for industry. This is something that concerns us all, our citizens, our businesses, but most importantly, our democratic institutions and the model of society that we stand for. To make sure that the digital products around us that will very soon be an integral part of our daily lives are sufficiently cyber secure in this new world that is dawning upon us, this is precisely the moment to start setting the tone, setting the parameters, the regulatory parameters that would govern this future. That's why we have proposed, together with my colleagues, Margaritis Schinas and Thierry Breton, a Cyber Resilience Act to ensure that all these digital products are sufficiently cyber secure and interconnected, not only in a market, but also in a system of values that protect who we are and what we believe in. But parallel to the Cyber Resilience Act on products, we have also in this commission placed particular emphasis on the vital elements of the functioning of our society, our critical infrastructure, and our network information system security. That's why we have significantly updated, and we managed in record time, thanks to the excellent work of the French presidency, to produce solid interinstitutional agreements on the so-called NIS2 directive and the Resilience of Critical Entities directive, both now part of the EU acquis. But there is more. And not only do people need to be able to use safe products and services in cyber, but they also must feel safe and be protected when they go into that digital world, when they look for information on the internet, when they share their stories on the social media, when they play video games with their children, or when they watch creative content online. And this very European right to security concerns us all Europeans, or rather everybody who lives in Europe, regardless of age, gender, origin, sexual orientation, beliefs, or level of digital literacy and skills. All people in our societies, and in particular children, need to be confident, 100% sure, that offline protection is at the same level with online protection. What is illegal offline is also illegal online. And that's why you would allow me to kickstart this panel discussion to focus on three main families of issues that are of particular concern to us. First, fighting against child sexual abuse online. Today, about 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 10 boys become victims of child sexual abuse. And what is even more outrageous is that child sexual offenders are often just a click away from destroying these children's life in a second time by posting and spreading online photos and videos of their crimes. So we're talking about a sequel of crimes. The harm done is unmeasurable and only compounded by cyber violence that is already at an all-time high with cyber harassment, image-based sexual abuse, and psychological violence. And unfortunately, with the expansion of sophisticated technologies used by child sexual offenders and children using increasingly more and more the internet, children, and especially girls, are facing more and more risks of being sexually abused throughout their childhood. That is why we presented a proposal laying down the rules to prevent and combat child sexual abuse. This proposal represents a historic initiative, I would say a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get it right. And this proposal has a strong focus on prevention. The aim is to reduce the number of cases by asking providers to take preventive measures based on risk assessments. It also provides for the possibility to issue injunctions for mandatory detentions of online child sexual abuse in a proportionate, targeted, and order-based way. A key issue, as you can understand, is to make sure that detection includes interpersonal communication services, including end-to-end encryption. Leaving out encrypted conversations entirely would simply mean leaving wide open the channels that currently afford predators with easy access to children and letting private companies escape their responsibilities to protect our children. They already detect malware without any limitations, including in encrypted communications. But detection on end-to-end encrypted services has to occur without compromising the security of communications in general and without interfering disproportionately with the fundamental right to privacy of users. We need to get this right. The law also needs to provide for the detection of both known and new child sexual abuse material, as well as the ever-increasing problem of grooming. This will enable the rescuing of children from situations or ongoing or upcoming abuse that warrant immediate intervention. We are also proposing the establishment of an EU center to prevent and counter child sexual abuse, to assist online platforms with fulfilling their roles, and of course, provide help and aid to victims. The urgency is real, and we are well aware that the reports on online child sexual abuse material we receive are unfortunately only the tip of the iceberg. And we need to have this proposal adopted before the current provisional framework we have set up expires in August next year. The second challenge I wanted to highlight in this intervention today is online disinformation. We all know that young people spend much of their free time, and not always free, online. Social media platforms, especially TikTok, are becoming Generation Z's main way of understanding reality, getting news, and socialize. And let's face it, this is a godsend for malicious actors who, with only very little effort and few resources can have a disastrous impact on youth. The pandemic and now the war in Ukraine have clearly shown us, documented, a very worrying trend, namely that young Europeans are a prime, probably the main target of disinformation campaigns. These campaigns have no other purpose than to instill mistrust among Europeans and distrust towards institutions, to plant the seed of division, polarize and catalyze hatred in our societies. And for the sake of the future of our European way of life, of the future of our democracy, we must, as a matter of urgency, shield our youth against this scourge of disinformation. Fighting online disinformation has been a key priority for the Commission for many years now. And with the recent entry into force of our new landmark regulatory text, the Digital Services Act, and the strengthened Code of Practice for Disinformation, we now have a strong toolbox of meaningful, powerful measures to fight disinformation, measures that combine a strong European regulatory backbone with industry-developed, future-proof, fit-for-purpose commitments. But let us not fool ourselves. This fight is far from over, especially as we are now entering, and very fast, the new chapter of catalytic technological revolution brought by artificial intelligence-based tools. It is clear that AI tools can offer a huge boost for our digital transition, but these same tools also have the potential to enable malicious actors, disinformation narratives, and do that quickly and on an unprecedented scale, or to make it easier to create increasingly credible deepfakes to manipulate the minds and tomorrow the votes of citizens. This is why we need to move urgently to some sort of an anthropocentric control of artificial intelligence. This is too big to be left in the hands of software engineers. Society, the people, need to be at the start or at the end of the AI processes. And this is not something that Brussels asks for ourselves. This is simply what people expect from the institutions and demand that we deliver. Let me conclude with the third family of issues. The third and last point is about the exposure of our youth to terrorist content online and the risk of early radicalization. For years now, we know that terrorist and extremist networks use internet and social media to spread their ideologies, recruit people, and prompt them to commit hate crimes and terrorist attacks. Here in France, we have very telling, very vivid examples of these practices, of these crimes. These networks are now abusing video gaming and adjacent platforms to reach out to increasingly younger users. They are also, worryingly, gamifying violence with scoreboards showing rankings of kills in real attacks or filming real attacks to look like video games. We have recently taken bold steps at European level to address the challenge of terrorist content online with legislation. And since September last year, the EU has a unique piece of legislation in place, the Terrorist Content Online Regulation, a regulation on which France has greatly contributed to, President Macron himself. This regulation obliges internet companies that offer their services in the EU to remove terrorist content online within 1 hour after receiving a removal order from member states. Because we all know that terrorist content related to terrorist attack is most harmful in the first hours after dissemination. Our legislation also obliges host service providers to take proactive measures to prevent the abuse of their services by terrorists, while including strong safeguards to protect fundamental rights, in particular freedom of speech. As a result of this legislation, we are already seeing a positive impact on the ground. But we also know that while some platforms are cooperative on referrals and removal orders, others are unfortunately not. So this fight is a joint effort to protect our citizens, and in particular young Europeans, against the spread of illegal terrorist content online. We now have the tools, but the story is not over. We need to continue working hand in hand with member states, tech platforms, civil society, educators, to address this challenge. And I'm sure that the panel that is about to start will discuss how to better join forces across this sensitive digital ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that it will be young Europeans, Generation Z, that we will lead the digital society of tomorrow. It is therefore vital that not only can they have these cyber digital tools and products in their daily life, but they also feel proud of being European, that they feel safe and they feel protected in this digital public space. We need young Europeans to have confidence in the digital society, because it's the digital society that will determine the future of European democracy. And this is a shared task. It requires a common effort, European, national, international, to leave no child behind by putting in place strong safeguards to protect the youngest and the most vulnerable. And of course, any safeguards we are devising or putting in place have to be firmly rooted in the values and in principles that are at the heart of our European way of life. This is what defines us. This is who we are. And I will never accept that we sacrifice our values on the altar of gain or economic expedience. Thank you for having me. I wish you a fruitful discussion.
Thank you, Vice President, for this very inspiring speech. And you know, here at Paris Cyber Week, Cyber Summit, actually, it was Cyber Week when we launched it with the Commission, but now it's a summit. Yeah, we're sharing lots of what you said, and you know, you just told me that maybe my logo is like Paris Saint-Germain.
Yes, it's suspiciously close to the Saint-Germain logo.
It's not. It may be the case, actually, and we do have, with Minister Kobel, a football game.
Okay.
To raise money for child protection. So you got it, good job. And one people from the D generation brings me the middle of the summit. And I've got one for you, Minister Kobel. So this is the Monet Paris medal, and now you have the Paris Saint-Germain logo in your office. Thank you, and it's my pleasure